Katie Lane Thurston, will you marry me?
Something that really surprised me during last night is that your family didn't know that you were engaged. So they literally watched it as America was watching. What was their reaction? I assume that was one of your first phone calls after last night.
I mean, they knew we were together because I was, leaving so much to go secretly see him, but they didn't know at what level. And so they were very supportive. We're not a traditional family where I needed to make sure they had a heads up or have a serious conversation, which is why I was comfortable with them just finding out the same way that mostly both our families found out.
Yeah.
Now, what is next for you two in terms of location? Katie, I know there was some rumblings about San Diego. Obviously, Blake, you're in Canada. So where will the two of you settle down now?
I don't think we're settling down really anywhere. We've kind of agreed to live with each other, but chunks at a time, whether it's Canada, San Diego, he'll be in Africa at times. And so if I can join him, I will. And there's going to be times where we're apart, but we just have this freedom of kind of being able to hop around together. And I think that's probably what we'll do for the first year, at least.
Just in terms of lifestyle, do you two want to kind of take a step out of the spotlight and live a more normal life? Or do you want to really kind of stay in the entertainment industry together?
I mean, I don't think the entertainment industry is where we're headed. We have a lot of similar alignments in terms of where we're headed in life. And with, what he wants to do with his advocacy for the animals and the planet are things that also excite me and that I'm passionate about as well. So it's just really exciting to see kind of what projects we can work on and what kind of, education we can bring back to the people who follow us on social media and kind of give a new perspective that people maybe aren't totally exposed to in the moment.
The proposal was the biggest news of last night, but probably what got the most headlines was all of the drama surrounding the Greg storyline. So first, Blake, I need to get your take because we have not heard your thoughts on Greg. What do you think about his behavior throughout the ending of the season? And I'm curious, when was the first time that you saw it?
So I would have seen it right before I went on stage as well, right before the taping of After the Final Rose. I mean, listen, the way I look at it is, if that's the love of your life, you just don't talk to her like that. You just don't. You fight harder, and he didn't do that. There was talking down and things. It's hard because I try to put myself in that situation, right? That's how I try to judge, and I wouldn't have never approached it that way. So I just saw it as wrong. I grew up in a household where that type of behavior was a constant for 17 years. And I saw what that can do to my mom in that case. And so it triggered me a little bit. It reminded me of a kind of brutal past to some degree. And so where I'll end this is that I hope, and Katie knows that she'll never have to hear that from me ever again.
Mm-hmm. Katie, did you watch back last night's After the Final Rose?
Yeah, it's tough because, I watched the episode initially right before seeing Greg. So those emotions are very fresh and Bachelor Nation hadn't seen it yet. And to have lived the week where everyone's talking about these conversations and realizing just how I had no idea how heavy this topic was going to be, regardless of whose, side you are or what your perspective was, given that it's been a week of listening and understanding, I think, all I can do is support Greg and his journey for healing, and whatever it is that he's going through. And I did come down hard, and I did have a lot of anger. And if I have the opportunity to talk to someone who hurt me, I'm going to. But, going forward, I'm just excited for everybody to take something from it and learn and just move forward.
I have to get your take though. Do you think that he was acting?
It's hard to say. I mean, I can speculate all day, but at this point, I don't really care to have an opinion if he was or if he wasn't. He was in acting school. Take that for what you want. Ultimately, it helped both of us make the right decision in terms of him leaving and me staying. And, I ended up with exactly who I'm supposed to be with.
And have you spoken to Greg since After the Final Rose? Because I know that was taped recently, but it wasn't live last night.
Correct. No, I have not reached out to him.
You didn't even bother to say goodbye? You say you love me. I don't think you know what love is.
Good riddance. We're here now with Blake. So let's
close the door, moving forward.
Goodbye and good luck, as my grandma says. That's her
Yes.
favorite line.
I love that.
When you watch the show, we're obviously not living it, but we see, with Katie, you go from Greg with emotions running high, and then to Blake and realizing that that is the love of your life. Can you kind of explain what it is like being in this vacuum of this show and how that may impact your emotions?
Yeah, I mean, you have all distractions removed, and all you can do every single day is focus on the relationship. And I've been very open from the very beginning that, I do fall in love more than once. I do think that's possible. And it wasn't until towards the end that I really had to start comparing the men, whereas I didn't do that before. I kind of kept every relationship individual. Every guy had something different to offer. What people need to remember is there's only so much you can see. People, for example, question Justin being there. And it's really unfortunate because there is a reason he was there, but when you have 2 hours each week, there's only so much you can show. And that's what people need to focus on is, like, you might not understand how I can love Blake, but there's just so much that you didn't get to see, unfortunately.
The first time I went on, it was for, trying out this show and this experience. And that was Claire. And then Tayshia came in, and again, you tried to separate the two, which is very hard to do in a short period of time. And so that's why you saw a very slow transition with Tayshia, which really didn't amount to much. Leading up to, coming and making a decision, well, should I go to Paradise? Like, I really was into Katie, as you heard on podcasts, all that kind of stuff. There's no way I'm going on and do this Bachelorette thing again. Like, it's not that fun. It's really not. But leading towards us, like, it's going to pull the trigger. Like, getting uncomfortable is where you find the most growth. And the best things come from being uncomfortable. I was like, I believe in this. And like, let's just see how this goes. Let's just meet her and see how it goes. And I'm so glad I trusted my gut and fighting for someone I really had a good intuition for, because now we're sitting right here.
Give me some time with your smile, baby.